you don't want to laugh when you're in that diving suit because you might use up too much oxygen.
Well, do you know that's what happened actually? We've got hypercapnia on the second.
Hypercapnia?
Hypercapnia.
Oh, I thought hypercapnia is something I have.
Ross Kemp has hypercapnia.
Yes, it's very camp to have hypercapnia. Ross, thanks so much for coming in to see us. We know you were here a little while ago. You were talking about your other thing because you're also a game show host.
Of course I am.
Why not? Why not?
That's exactly how I look at it at this age. I really enjoy doing the Bridge of Lies. I think I said to Chris, I look at people trying to get across it. And it starts off quite easy with 2 options, then it's 3 options, then it's 4 options, then it's 5 options, and that's midlife for me. There were like too many options, didn't know where I was going. I made it across halfway. I dallied a bit like most people do. They get halfway across and it starts getting tougher, a bit like real life. And I look down there sometimes and I go, that's my life, that is down there.
Well, we hope we haven't completed the bridge yet because we like you doing these new things. And we were saying you've done everything. You've met gangs in Peru. You've met deep sea.
I've dived on lots of wrecks.
Dives.
Is that the right way of saying it?
Yes, I suppose so. It could be used to describe so many aspects of my life. And also you've met Pat Butcher. Which was the most scary?
Oh, Pat Butcher, without a doubt. Actually, no, she's an absolutely lovely. She's a lovely actress, and I was very fortunate to work with some great icons actually while I was in EastEnders. Pam. Obviously played
and Pam's
Pat.
She's got quite a posh voice, hasn't she, when she's not Pat?
She went to Rodin, I believe.
Oh, I say. I beg your pardon.
Very good actress, though, and became a great friend over the 10 years that I was there.
We're here to talk about the new series Shipwreck Hunters with Deep Sea Treasure Hunter, the first episode, which goes out on Monday on Sky History. So I've seen the first episode. It's absolutely brilliant.
Most people don't bother to watch them.
Oh, we work very hard on the research.
There's indignation everywhere in this studio.
Oh, please. We love it. Sinead watched it and she hates the sea.
The sea's terrifying. The oceans are terrifying, so I quite like just...
And you're right. You're right to be respectful of the sea. Everyone should be.
Well, after watching the programme, when you're learning about the bends... And you're learning about the oxygen running out in the tank, it's very frightening.
Well, it is part and parcel of going underwater is you need something to breathe, don't you, unless you're a fish. So,
yeah, that's what he says, that
I tell you what, one thing you do realise very quickly, because I started training, I was in open water, which is basically a recreational diver.
That's with that bloke, isn't it, when you went in the pond with the car?
With the pond, with the car. That sounds good. That bloke is Neil Brock, who's my dive supervisor.
I like him.
He's very funny.
Quite chummy,
He's very
wasn't he?
funny. He comes up with the occasional funny joke as well.
Oh, he says, unless you've got gills,
I think I can say this on radio. Yeah. He said we were about to dive on the Mary Rose site, which is what the first episode's about, and the Isle of Wight ferry was behind him as we were getting on the boats, and he said, what comes steaming out of the back of cows? And I went, milk. And he went, no, the Isle of Wight ferry.
That's very good. He's very good.
He's a funny chap.
Nice to be, but you don't want to laugh when you're in that diving suit because you might use up too much oxygen.
Well, do you know that's what happened actually? We've got hypercapnia on the second.
Hypercapnia?
Hypercapnia.
Oh, I thought hypercapnia is something I have.
Camp has hypercapnia.
Yes, it's very camp to have hypercapnia. Is that the bends?
No, it's not. It's when because you're wearing a full face mask and you need to have one of those so you can talk underwater because if you've got a normal regulator in your mouth, you can't talk.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so what you do is you have this kind of full face mask and they bring a kind of a new challenge to actually diving because they're not as effective as a normal regulator, but it enables you to be able to have a conversation with someone. They've got communications inside them.
Sure.
But what we got is a thing called brass fever.
Oh,
okay.
Blimey. What's that?
And brass fever is basically when you get excited about finding something non-ferrous underwater, which if you'd said that to me 2 years ago, I could be excited about finding a non-ferrous piece of metal at 20 metres in Plymouth Sound. I'd say carry on drinking. However, myself and Mallory Hass, who's the kind of marine archaeologist that I dive with, we actually found a bit of a bottom of a ship from about 1500.
Yes.
Silver coin. We found some musket balls, we found some, and we realised we were on a wreck. We found a new wreck, and we were trying to lift the tingle, which is the lead sheathing that went on the outside of boats in around 1500 off the seabed. Forgot really that we were underwater. I thought I was trying to get a stump out of the garden.
Yes.
Rocking away too much, breathing out too much CO2 into my mask, and we both got a hypercapnia hit, which basically means you slightly black out.
Oh, wow. That is terrifying.
What's a bit?
Sinead's face is like, oh, another reason I don't want
It's
to go
not a
down.
good place to black out 20 metres in
No.
Plymouth Sound.
Yeah, and I didn't realise how deep it was in Plymouth Sound as well.
About 20. It's not that deep. Not as deep as we go. We go a bit
right.
deeper when we're diving in the Red Sea and places
You've
like
got
that.
a diver's watch on. Did you wear that when you went down
No, that's
there?
wearing on the King's Road.
Ah, I see, I see.
When I'm diving, I use a dive computer.
Oh, yeah, you got that massive one on your wrist.
Do you know why I have such a big one? Sorry, excuse me. Do you know why I have such a big dive computer? It's because I've got short sight. Once I hit 50,
Yeah.
looking at things close up, and also, so it's one thing not being able to read a book and be able to reach over and put, your
glasses.
your cheap
You can
glasses
hardly
out.
put them on a chain around your neck.
No, exactly.
Underwater.
So I have to have a very large dive computer because it's quite important. On the last dive, in the last episode, we do dives around D-Day, which also was honestly really quite
my
emotional.
goodness,
Tom. We ended
yeah.
up in the American cemetery, and
Oh,
the
wow.
guy that looks after the cemetery is an ex-Marine. He takes me over to the only American Marine that died during D-Day because all of them were fighting in the Pacific at the time.
Right.
And he managed to find his way into the American army, and he was killed D-Day +4. But they get a bucket of sand because there are these marble crosses, and he rubs the sand across the name, and the name appears in front of you.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's quite
Wow.
kind of goosebumpy moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's telling history through diving, and I. Do you know what? Again, would I have done a game show 5 years ago? Who knows? Would I be diving on the Mary Rose? Who knows? But here I am.
I thought it was so the history stuff, because I know, Sinead, you love a bit of the Tudors like me.
Love them.
So
Henry,
interesting.
I mean, the Mary
What?
Rose represents really Henry VIII's reign.
Yeah.
He paid for it personally.
Yeah.
He named it after his first daughter, and it nearly lasted as long as he did. And he went pretty soon after it did. Do you know what was really amazing about the Mary Rose? And I will say this: it's a bit like Pompeii. So when it was sealed very quickly by all the ash landing on it, it kind of kept trapped history.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing about the Mary Rose and why they found 27,000 artifacts on it, including peppercorns in a grinder.
I love that bit.
I mean,
It's incredible.
they know
Amazing
that
they found the
the dog
peppercorns as
had
well.
gout. How did they know the dog had gout?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, they know a lot. Trust me, these people. Anyway, the reason that it's so well preserved is the silt in the Solent is non-oxidized, so it's got no oxygen in it. So things like teredo worm and all the kind of things that would normally go onto a wooden wreck and destroy it couldn't get to it. And that's why it's so amazingly preserved, and that's why it's so rich in its artifacts.
Oh, wow, because the guns and the cannons and stuff
If
that you
you
look
said
at,
I've
they're
been talking
immaculate.
about this at 10.
No,
It's
we love
fascinating.
it. Honestly, I was
I
so
love
stimulated by it.
I know. I love it.
And I thought it was such a sum up of Henry VIII as well. Because, well, is it a spoiler to say one of the theories about why it sank? Are we allowed to talk about? Is
Yeah,
that spoiling
I think
it?
so.
But
Yeah.
it was
It's a theory.
it was something that Henry wanted to add to the boat, and all the shipbuilders were like, "We think that's a bad idea." And he was
Yeah.
like, "I'm Henry VIII, so be
I'm the
quiet.
king."
I'm the king. I'll do what I want."
Yeah.
And I go, all right, we'll do it, but don't blame us if it goes wrong.
And then he stands there and watches it go wrong
Yeah.
in front of him, a
Yeah.
man that's never got anything wrong ever in his life because he's always right. And then, everyone's going, you can hear the men dying as the
Oh,
boat
my
slowly
goodness, yeah.
tips into the water. Yeah, and he's got to stand there.
And he stands there and he goes, "Oh, my poor gallant gentleman." And
Yes.
I bet you did think that as well. Yeah, my gentleman, my poor gallant gentleman. Very traumatic. And then it's got all that netting on the top as well.
Yeah, so it had anti-boarding netting strapped across most of it. And you think, although they had swords and they had knives, they could cut through it. Well, they covered it in pitch, in tar, then they covered it in sand and glass, so you couldn't cut through it.
Wow. It's absolutely, it's terrifying, but it's also so interesting. Absolutely wonderful to watch.